I never meant to stay that long. It was supposed to be a quick visit. Drop off the charger I borrowed. Say thanks. Leave. But the moment she opened the door, everything slowed down. Her voice, low, soft, a little tired, said, "You can come in if you want." And I did. The living room smelled faintly of rain and coffee left too long on the table. She was barefoot, wearing a loose sweater that slipped off one shoulder. It wasn't deliberate. She wasn't trying. That was the part that got me. She never had to. She was my aunt by marriage. My uncle's ex-wife, technically. But that word, aunt, always felt too small for her. Too casual for the way she carried herself, or the way her silence filled a room. She handed me a mug. "Still too cold in here," she murmured. The heater clicked somewhere, but the air stayed chilly. When our fingers touched, just briefly, she drew back faster than she meant to. "You've been busy," I said, trying to make it normal. Her laugh came slow, almost brittle. "Busy forgetting things." She turned her back to me, fixing the curtain that didn't need fixing. "How's school?" I told her. She didn't really listen, and I didn't blame her. I wasn't talking for the words anyway. I just wanted to stay inside her quiet for a while, that strange calm she carried, even when it was cracked around the edges. When she finally sat down, she did it like someone who wasn't sure if she deserved the seat. Her eyes found mine across the small table, then darted away. She looked older than I remembered. Not in a bad way, just realer. Softer around the eyes, sharper in the pauses. "You still draw?" she asked suddenly. "Sometimes." "You were good." "Was," I said, smiling. "Not sure about now." She tilted her head, studying me for too long. "You still are," she said, quieter. Then, after a beat, "You just forgot how that feels." The sentence hung between us, heavier than it should have been. I noticed her hand resting near mine, close enough that the warmth bled across the space. I could smell her perfume. Faint, floral, with something deeper beneath it. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking at the steam curling up from her mug, like she wanted it to blur everything. "Do you ever think about—" she began, then stopped. Her throat moved as she swallowed. "Never mind." I leaned in slightly. "About what?" Her lips parted, but she didn't answer right away. She took a breath instead, one of those breaths that feels like a decision. "I forgot how this feels," she said finally. Her voice trembled, just once, mid-sentence. The room went still. Even the heater stopped its clicking. She set her mug down, fingers trembling, then laughed under her breath. A shaky sound that tried to hide behind composure. "Listen to me," she said. "I sound ridiculous." "You don't." Her eyes flicked to mine. There was something there, recognition, regret, maybe both. She looked like she wanted to take the words back and say something else instead. But she didn't. For a second, the space between us felt alive. I could hear her breathing, could almost feel the warmth of her skin across the short distance. I didn't move. Neither did she. Then a knock at the door. Her head turned fast. I saw the small flash of panic before she masked it with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Stay here," she whispered. And just like that, the moment was gone. The knock turned out to be the delivery guy, wrong address. She handled it with that polite smile people use when they're holding themselves together. When she closed the door again, the silence felt heavier than before. I watched her exhale, slow and deliberate. "Well," she said, brushing her hair back. "Crisis averted." She was trying to make it light, but her voice was still unsteady. I sat there, not sure if I should leave. I didn't want to. "Do you want me to—" I started. "Stay?" she finished, almost whispering. We both froze. She gave a small laugh and looked down at her hands. "That's not what I meant." But it was. We both knew it. She turned toward the window, and the fading light outlined her in pale gold. I could see the shape of her collarbone, the curve of her neck. Her sweater slipped again, and she didn't notice. "Do you ever get lonely here?" I asked before I could stop myself. Her shoulders tightened. "Sometimes." A beat. "Most times." Her honesty startled me. She sat back down, not looking at me. After the divorce, I thought I'd enjoy the quiet. I told myself I needed it. But quiet has a way of getting louder when no one's around to share it with. I nodded, not sure what to say. My uncle, her ex, had always been distant, even when they were together. I remembered family dinners where she'd smile at him and get nothing back but a distracted nod. She turned her eyes to me. "You probably think I'm pathetic." "I don't," I said. Too fast. Too certain. Her mouth twitched, not quite a smile. "You're kind," she said softly. I wanted to tell her it wasn't kindness. It was recognition. She reached for the mug again, her hand brushing mine. This time she didn't pull away. The touch was brief but electric, grounding and impossible at once. "Sorry," she murmured. "Don't be." Her eyes lifted to mine again, steady, searching. It felt like she was looking for something she shouldn't want to find. I swallowed. "You ever miss him?" Her face went still. "Not him," she said after a pause. "Just the feeling of being wanted." That landed hard. Not because of what she said, but because of how she said it. Quiet, almost embarrassed. The heater kicked back on, the soft hum filling the silence between us. She looked away first, pretending to fix the blanket draped over the armchair. "You shouldn't look at me like that," she said. "How am I looking?" "Like you understand." Her words came out softer than breath, but I heard them all the same. She stepped past me to set her mug in the sink, and as she did, her hand brushed my shoulder. A tiny, almost meaningless touch that somehow wasn't meaningless at all. My skin burned under her fingers even after she moved away. When she turned back, her expression had changed. Composed again, walls rebuilt. But something in her eyes betrayed her. A flicker of warmth, of wanting. "I'll make more coffee," she said. I stood up, closing the small space between us. "Let me." For a second, neither of us moved. Just the soft sound of the rain outside, the faint hum of the heater, and the steady rhythm of two people trying not to cross a line they already had in their minds. Then she smiled, tired, tender. "You shouldn't be this kind," she said again. "I'm not," I whispered, and this time, she didn't disagree. She was standing by the counter, sleeves pushed up, hair a little messy from running her hands through it too many times. I leaned against the doorway, watching her pour coffee into 2 chipped mugs. "You really don't have to help," she said, her voice quieter now. "I know." She glanced up. "Then why are you still here?" I didn't have a good answer. Maybe she saw that in my face, because she smiled. A small, knowing one that didn't last. She handed me a mug, her fingers brushing mine again. The same spark as before. Neither of us commented on it, but the silence said enough. "Your uncle used to hate this brand," she murmured, stirring her cup. I took a sip, bitter and too hot. "He hated a lot of things he didn't understand." Her eyes flicked to mine, sharp and surprised, then softer. "You sound like you know him better than I did." "I just saw how you looked at him," I said, "and how he didn't look back." That hit somewhere deep. She froze, mug halfway to her lips. "You shouldn't have seen that." "I did." She turned away, staring out the window. The rain had thickened, blurring the glass. "You're too young to talk like that." "I'm old enough to notice things." That made her laugh. Not joyfully, but like she was tired of resisting the truth. She took a step closer, maybe without meaning to. The smell of her shampoo mixed with the coffee, warm and dizzying. I could see the faint tremor in her hand when she set the mug down. "This isn't right," she said under her breath. I didn't say it was. Her eyes lifted to mine. Whatever she saw there made her stop talking. For a moment, the air shifted, heavier, sharper. She exhaled, slow. "You need to leave soon." "I will." But I didn't move. Neither did she. Then a buzz. Her phone, vibrating against the counter. We both looked at it. The name flashing on the screen. Maya, sister. She reached for it, but hesitated when she saw me watching. "She checks on me," she said, too fast. "Thinks I don't talk to people enough." "Does she know I'm here?" No, the single word cracked the air open. The phone stopped buzzing. The quiet after felt louder than the rain. I should probably go, I said finally. She nodded but didn't step aside. When I tried to move past her, she did the same thing, except neither of us moved far enough. We ended up face to face, barely an inch apart. Her breath brushed against my cheek, warm and unsteady. Her hand lifted, hesitated in the air between us. This shouldn't happen, she whispered. I know. We both waited for one of us to step back. No one did. Her eyes flicked down to my mouth, then away again, like the thought itself was dangerous. Somewhere outside, a car door slammed, a reminder that the world still existed beyond this room. She blinked hard, as if waking from something. You should go, she said again, softer this time. A plea more than an order. I nodded, but neither of us moved. For a few seconds we just stood there, too close, too aware, suspended in something we couldn't name yet. And in that silence, something irreversible settled between us. It had been 2 days since I left her house. 2 days since the rain and the almost that hung between us. I told myself I wouldn't go back. Then she texted. Short, almost careless. Can you help me fix the shelf? It's coming loose. I knew she could have handled it herself. Still, I went. When she opened the door, she looked surprised that I'd actually come. Or maybe she wasn't. Hey, I said. Hey, she echoed, stepping aside. The air inside felt heavy again, the kind of stillness that remembers everything you tried to forget. The shelf wasn't broken, not really. A screw was loose. I tightened it in silence, pretending not to notice her standing behind me, close enough that I could feel her breath on my shoulder. You didn't have to come, she murmured. I know. She stayed there anyway, arms crossed loosely. You always say that. I glanced back. Say what? That you know. Her tone was soft, but it carried something heavier underneath. I turned fully toward her. You don't really want the shelf fixed, do you? She hesitated. Her throat moved as she swallowed. No, that single word changed the room. We stood there, the space between us collapsing inch by inch. She looked like she wanted to turn away but couldn't. I could see the faint rise and fall of her chest, the nervous flick of her fingers at her wrist. I don't know what's happening, she said finally. Yes, you do. She closed her eyes, shaking her head. You make me feel ridiculous. You don't. Her eyes opened, sharp, wet around the edges. You're young. You don't understand what this looks like. I stepped closer. Then stopped looking. Her breath caught. My hand lifted before I could think. Brushed a strand of hair from her face. She didn't move. The touch lingered, light at first, then firmer as her head tilted slightly toward my palm. You should go, she whispered again, but her voice was softer now, less sure. I don't want to. Her lips parted, but no sound came. For a long second, neither of us breathed. Then she said, barely above a whisper, You think this is what you want, but you don't know what comes after. Then show me. Her eyes widened. For a heartbeat, I thought she'd push me away. Instead, she exhaled. A trembling, unsteady sound that felt like surrender and regret tangled together. She stepped forward. I could feel her, the warmth of her sweater brushing against me, her perfume close enough to taste. My heart thudded against my ribs so loud it felt like it filled the whole room. You're making this too hard, she said, her voice breaking. Then stop me. Her hand rose, stopped just short of my chest. Fingers hovered there, trembling, then pressed lightly, as if to remind herself I was real. Please, she breathed. Don't. But she didn't move back. Neither did I. The silence between us pulsed. Fragile, dangerous, alive. She looked up at me then, eyes dark and searching, and whispered, If you stay one more second. And before she could finish, the sound of a key turned in the front door. The key in the door froze her. She jerked back, breath catching. A half second later, the door opened, her sister's voice calling from the hallway. Leah? You home? Leah's eyes shot to mine, wide, terrified. Her hand pressed against my chest once more, this time harder. Go. Upstairs. Now. I didn't argue. I slipped into the narrow hallway, my heart hammering. From the top of the stairs, I could hear them. Her sister's voice, warm but suspicious. I saw your light. Thought I'd stop by. You didn't answer my texts. I was, in the shower, Leah said, too quickly. Didn't hear the phone. Their conversation moved into the kitchen. I could smell the coffee, still warm, the air still heavy with what almost happened. I leaned against the wall, trying to breathe quietly. Downstairs, I heard laughter that didn't sound real. Then Maya's tone shifted. Whose jacket is that? Silence. Mine. I'd left it draped over the chair. Leah hesitated just long enough for it to matter. Oh, that? It's, just a neighbor's kid. He helped fix a shelf. Neighbor's kid. The word hit me harder than it should have. I listened to their voices blur and fade until the front door closed again. Only then did I come down the stairs. Leah stood in the kitchen, both hands flat on the counter, head bowed. She didn't believe that, I said quietly. I don't care if she did. Her voice shook. Not with anger, but something closer to panic. She'll tell him, I said. Your ex. Or my uncle. She won't, she whispered. But she might wonder. And that's enough. I stepped closer. She didn't look at me. Her knuckles were white against the counter's edge. Leah, don't. She turned, her face pale, eyes glassy. I shouldn't have called you. I shouldn't have asked you to come back. You wanted me to. Yes, she said, the word sharp and broken. And that's the problem. I reached out, fingers brushing her wrist. She didn't pull away. Then stop pretending it isn't real. Her eyes lifted to mine, full of something raw and exhausted. You don't understand. You were a boy when I met you. You used to come here with your backpack asking me about art school. And now what? Her voice dropped. Now I look at you and I forget I'm supposed to be older, supposed to know better. The air between us throbbed with everything unspoken. She tried to step past me, but I caught her arm. Not to hold her, just to keep her from running from the truth again. She froze. You lied to her, I said. I had to. Why? Because she saw what I see. Her voice cracked. The way you look at me. The words hung there, confession and consequence tangled together. Her hand slipped from my wrist but didn't move far. We stood so close that her breath hit my chin. I could feel the tremor running through her. This isn't going to end well, she said. I know. Then why are you still here? I didn't answer. I just looked at her. Really looked. And whatever she saw in my face made her stop breathing. She took one small step forward, eyes flicking to the door, then back to me. Lock it, she whispered, and I did. The door clicked shut, and the world outside disappeared. She stood there, back against the counter, breathing like someone who'd just run a long distance. The rain had started again, hard this time, beating against the windows, muffling the sound of everything else. Neither of us spoke. I took one step closer. She didn't move. Her hand rested on the edge of the counter, gripping it until her knuckles turned white. You don't know what you're doing, she said quietly. Yes, I do. Her eyes flicked to mine, then away, as if my gaze burned. You'll regret it. Then I'll regret it, I said. Her breath hitched, a sound she tried to hide but couldn't. The silence thickened, pressing around us. She looked at me the way people look at something they want but shouldn't touch, reverent, terrified, already mourning the loss. I reached out, slowly, giving her time to stop me. My fingers brushed a strand of hair from her face. She closed her eyes at the touch, her jaw tightening. Don't, she whispered, but it sounded more like please. Her hand came up, not to push me away, but to steady herself. She touched my wrist, light as a tremor. You'll hate me for this, she said. I couldn't. You don't know me. I do now. Her eyes opened, and for the first time, there was no distance in them. Only recognition, the kind that doesn't need words. She stepped forward until her forehead rested against my chest. I could feel her breath against my shirt, uneven, warm. My hand hovered at her back, then settled there gently. This feels like a mistake, she murmured. It does, I said. But it also feels like the truth. Her fingers curled into the fabric of my sleeve. I could hear the clock ticking somewhere behind us. Small, steady, merciless. We stayed like that for a while, suspended between everything we wanted and everything we were afraid of. Then she looked up, and the look in her eyes said what neither of us could. She lifted her hand, brushing my face the way someone memorizes something before letting it go. "If we do this," she whispered, "there's no pretending after. I'm done pretending." Her lips parted, so close I could feel her breath against mine, and then she stopped. The tiniest hesitation. "Tell me to stop," she said. "I can't." Her eyes closed. For one long heartbeat, she stayed still, caught between restraint and surrender. Then softly, she said, "I've been alone too long." It wasn't permission, not really. It was confession. The air between us broke. She leaned in, not all the way, not yet, but enough that the choice was real, visible, alive. And then, as if the universe couldn't bear to let it happen easily, her phone vibrated again on the counter beside us. She froze. We both looked at it. A message lit the screen. "We need to talk. Mark." Her ex-husband. She stepped back, the distance immediate and cold. Her hand covered her mouth, her eyes glassy again. "I can't," she whispered. "Not like this." I didn't move. "Then tell me what you want." She looked up, and for the first time her answer was clear, steady, final. "I want to stop being afraid," she said. "But not tonight." She reached out, touched my cheek once, a single trembling gesture, and walked past me toward the hall. I stood there, listening to her footsteps fade. And somehow, even without touching, I knew. We'd already crossed the line that it rained through the night, steady and unrelenting. I didn't sleep. Her house was quiet, the kind of quiet that comes after something you can't name but both feel. I sat on the couch until the light began to gray the window, tracing the sound of water dripping from the roof, waiting for some kind of sign. When she finally appeared, it wasn't dramatic. She came down the hall barefoot, hair loose, wrapped in the same sweater she wore 2 nights before. "You're still here," she said softly. "I didn't want to leave you alone." Her lips curved, faintly, the first real smile I'd seen from her in days. "I think that's the part that scares me." I stood up, unsure whether to step closer. She solved it by walking past me to the window, pulling back the curtain. Outside, the street was washed clean, the rain slowing to a mist. "You were right," she said after a long pause. "I keep pretending I'm fine. I keep telling myself I don't need anyone. And now," she looked over her shoulder, eyes tired but open. "Now I don't want to be that kind of strong anymore." I took a small step forward. "You don't have to be." For a while, she said nothing, just breathed, shoulders rising and falling with a quiet rhythm. Then she turned fully, leaning back against the glass. "Do you regret staying?" "No, even after last night?" "Especially after last night." Her laugh came small and shaky. "You make it sound like something happened." "Something did," I said. "We just didn't name it." That silenced her again, but this time, she didn't look away. I crossed the room, slow, deliberate. She didn't move. When I reached her, I stopped close enough that I could feel her warmth through the thin air between us. I lifted a hand, brushing my thumb gently over her wrist, testing, waiting. She didn't pull back. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You don't know what this means for me." "I don't need to," I said. "I just know what it means right now." Something in her softened then, not surrender but release. She exhaled, stepped closer, and let her head rest lightly against my chest. I wrapped my arms around her. She didn't say anything else. Neither did I. The hug wasn't rushed. It wasn't about answers. It was about being seen, 2 people finding quiet in the middle of all the noise. When she finally spoke again, it was into my shirt, voice muffled. "This shouldn't have happened. But it did. And you're not afraid?" "I was," I said. "But you're worth being afraid for." Her laugh came soft, almost disbelieving. Then she tilted her face up, eyes still damp but brighter now. I kissed her forehead, just once, nothing more. It was enough. The storm had broken. The morning light touched her face, gentle and new. She smiled, small, real, unguarded. "You should make the coffee this time," she said. I nodded. "Only if you promise not to forget how this feels." Her fingers laced with mine, quiet, certain. "I won't," she whispered. "Not this time." Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?